is higher, or like, I mean, it's on the same level, at least. Now, that is a horizontal plane from there to there. This one isn't needed because the water level, the tool, you can just move this end to wherever you want. Here, here, wherever, it doesn't matter. It will be the same level. So that's a straight line. Always, it's got to be.
Father, 90 degrees.
Zanik, can a straight line a curved line? I just want to know. I'm just curious.
Don't ask him silly questions. Of course not.
Well, I mean, like,
come on the really is level, Zanik. Can a straight line also be a curved line? I just want to know.
Level can be a curved line.
Zanik, tell them about your longest building in the world, the straightest building.
So this
What is it that is curved?
Flat.
Is it the line or is it space?
The Stanford Linear Accelerator has the straightest building and the straightest object in it in the universe that we know of. It's 2 miles
Go on,
long.
what's that?
Straight within 20 thousandths of an inch. 20 thousandths of an inch over 2 miles. And the ends have plumb lines that tilt inward with respect to that straight line.
So the plumb lines do what?
Straight.
They tilt inwards.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's what he said.
because
That's sweet. Well done.
So
Simon.
they're not plumb lines then?
no, the object is the straightest object in the
Zanik.
universe.
No. They're not plumb
Almost
then.
straight.
I can't hear Zanik.
Still gay.
I can't hear him.
Because they just talk over people. They don't want to
hold
think
on,
they want to
Zanik,
mock
just
what they
one
don't
sec. Can we
understand.
just have Bev and Zanik? Thank you.
Yeah, if he wants to listen, I'll explain it to him. But if you just talk over me, you'll never understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah, whatever.
Straight line, right, Zanik? What happens to the plumb
It's the
lines at the
straightest
end
object
of this
in the
straight line?
universe. Again, you're doing it again. The straightest object in the universe, kept within 20 thousandths of an inch. And the ends have plumb lines that tilt inward with respect to level. They're not level
So
at the ends.
Do you got any
Not
proof of that
perpendicular.
before we start arguing about it?
Sorry, when you say they're
I
not
was there when they
level,
did the measurements.
you've just
I
said that
was there
level
to
isn't
talk to the
curved. So
engineers
how,
that were there
Zanik,
explaining about this concept.
I've got a question. How can you reference it back to level not being level when you're saying level isn't level anyway? How are you referencing it back if it isn't level? How is it a reference?
It's not level at the ends. It's level at the
I
middle.
understand that that's what you're arguing. What I'm saying is these 2 points that you're saying aren't perpendicular aren't level. Well, your whole argument is that level is curved. Anyway, so when you say, I haven't finished, Zanik, you're doing it again, aren't you? You're scared of what I'm saying. You're never going to understand what I say if you keep talking through me, Zanik. Shall I just throw this shite straight back at you? This shite that you opened up with when you had clear air to talk. Yeah, you're never going to understand this, Zanik. You're too stupid. You keep talking through me. That's a real problem for people being stupid and not understanding things. So you're referencing back to not being level when you describe them moving towards the centre of the Earth at this minuscule amount that you detailed. But when you say not level, how is it that you're referencing it not being level if you're trying to explain how it's curved? You can't reference it back to being not level because that's your premise. It seems very circular.
It may seem that way, but it's not circular. The object is straight. The ends are not level. Only the center is level.
So what's level?
Can I?
Hold on, Ben.
Can I just
hold on?
You know,
So what is level? If it's not
center.
level, what's level? What is level, Zanik?
The center of the object is level. The
What
ends are
is
not.
level? Define level.
Level is an orientation perpendicular to plumb.
Can I just add here, Nathan? I'll give you a mental concept and help you work out where Zanik is, because I've been here before with Zanik, right? This is the straightest object in the universe, Zanik, okay? Confirm?
The straightest
Zanik?
object in the universe that we know of,
Right.
yes.
And we're going to get a ball at one end and we're going to put a ball on the other end, right? What happens to them balls that are on the straightest object in the universe?
They'll roll to the center.
The balls will roll to the center, but when you drop a plumb line at the ends, they point inwards.
Yep.
Okay. I'm done, Nathan. Thank you.
Okay, that was total
Well, I
nonsense.
got
Zanik.
the
Thank you
idea
for
that Zanuck thinks that perpendicular or that level is not really an entire line. It's a point of a circle. I think that's where he's trying to go with that.
Perfect. Yes.
Well, then you don't have a level to say it's not level because you haven't defined what level actually is yet. That's where I got to
I
with
have
you.
defined it. I defined it. Perpendicular. An
To get balls
orientation
to roll to the middle.
perpendicular to plumb.
Well, that's not really perpendicular then. I call it
Yeah, it is.
circumdicular.
Okay,
No, an
so
orientation is
okay.
perpendicular.
Let's just
For
answer me
example-
this then, Zanik. An orientation perpendicular to plumb. So if I was at the North Pole and I dropped plumb line, and then I phone up my mate who's in Hawaii, will his line be the same as my line?
Yeah, they both are going plumb. Yep, they're both plumb. But if you made them really tall,
So they're both
and you're able to
plumb.
measure,
Well, if they're both plumb and we've got both got perpendicular lines running to our plumb line, then we're on a flat plane.
no, because the distance between them would be different.
If it's plumb, and plumb gives you perpendicular, and me on someone else on the other side of the world in your vernacular, both have the same plumb line, giving you perpendicular to a horizontal, then we're on a flat plane.
He's saying they're plumb to
So,
each
but no,
position.
because the lines themselves would have different distances between you, top and bottom.
He's saying they're locally plumb, and that the distances from top to
Exactly.
bottom are
Locally
going to be
plumb,
wider at the
but not
top.
the same, not equidistant between you.
So,
Because
so
he
you're
thinks
saying
he lives on a sphere.
So,
Not
well,
parallel.
hold on. So
They're
if
not
I move
parallel.
Sanic. So if I move location, you're saying the rule of Euclidean doesn't apply anymore because someone else somewhere else has got a completely different plumb to me.
How is it Euclidean not apply?
Well, because my plumb and your plumb aren't running parallel if you presuppose a sphere Earth beneath your feet.
You don't presuppose it, you can measure it.
Sorry, you're not answering my question. If the two dudes have got parallel lines for their plumb lines, then we're on a
They
flat
don't.
plane.
They don't.
They don't. So therefore,
They don't.
this rule of Euclidean where you have perpendicular does not apply on a sphere. You can't use Euclidean geometry because according to you drop a plumb at the North Pole and perpendicular isn't the same if you're in Hawaii. It's completely different because you're saying
they
plumb
are,
lines. I haven't finished my statement.
They are.
I'm going to kick you out if you keep interrupting my conclusions, Zanik. Yeah, you haven't got parallel lines when running plumb lines. You've got them running to a point at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth.
And they measure not to be parallel.
No, not to be parallel. What, plumb? But then they
They're
wouldn't be
both
plumb,
but they're not
would
parallel.
they? So you're saying plumb
Makes
lines
sense.
aren't plumb lines. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, there's an
Plumb
angular
line.
difference between plumb lines. Is that right,
So
Zanik?
that's nonsense. That's complete nonsense. You can't say there's an angular difference between plumb lines. That violates a very, very firmly held premise of the very mathematics that you're going to be utilising. That's what I'm saying. If this principle doesn't hold true, then you don't have Euclidean geometry to be utilised. You don't have plumb lines
Geometric
running
fallacy,
parallel.
right?
Yeah, Euclidean geometry assumes that all these effects are spatially parallel, and it's that's how it works. And if your ball is a literal ball, then it has Euclidean consequences, basically. And
Yeah,
if
you
you're
can't-
going to assume that level's not going to be parallel to another level on another position on the ball, then you're not using the right terminologies.
Correct.
It doesn't match.
Zanuck,
I haven't said
you need to
Euclidean.
start
You
saying
have.
locally
Using
plumb unless you're going to be
perpendicular geometry,
dis-
not perpendicular geometry. So
On a small
Zanuck, you
scale,
need
it
to
works.
say locally
Larger scales,
plumb.
it doesn't work.
You mean locally plumb, right, Zanuck, to each position? Locally plumb, Zanuck? Am I breaking up?
No, we hear you.
No, he's just not answering.
He's just making his
Yeah, we
executive
hear-
decision now.
Couldn't hear him.
Zanuck, you need to say locally plumb. If not, you're being disingenuous
that.
to the audience. I know what you mean.
No,
I think
I
it's
said that.
foolish.
I said they're both locally plumb. I said locally too.
So if
But you
the
pointed
guy,
him
I've said
with-
this already, if
So-
they're both plumb, i.e. running parallel, then we are on a flat plane.
They're not parallel.
Well, then they're not plumb.
They are plumb because
That's contradiction in terms, moron. Are you stupid?
dummy.
Define
Wow.
what plumb means, you stupid moron.
an orientation that is perpendicular.
What does perpendicular mean? At right angles, right? Well, if the guy next to you's not at right angles, it is not plumb.
They both have right angles to plumb. Both orientations.
Right angles at plumb, then we're on a flat plane. If both have got right angles to the plumb line, we're on a flat plane.
Wow, you destroyed yourself again, Zanuck. Damn.
If you've got plumb lines, they're running parallel with one another. That's what plumb line is. If you're saying plumb lines aren't plumb, that's ludicrous. And if you're saying they've both got 90 degrees, then they're on a flat plane. Simple.
No, it's
Yeah.
not that simple because they're both locally plumb, as was said.
Plumb means parallel. If they're locally plumb and they're both plumb, then they are on a flat plane. Unless you say plumb is not plumb.
Plumb is 90 degrees from that orientation.
Well, then if both got plumb lines, then they're both 90 degrees to each other.
can get
Then
out of
they
this.
are, while I get interrupted by my own panel, they are on a flat plane, Zanuck.
No, they're not parallel, but both.
Oh, well, then they're not plumb, moron. Don't you know what plumb means? If they're not parallel, they're not plumb.
Plumb doesn't mean parallel.
Ah, does it not? So you think two plumb lines aren't parallel? You're a moron.
Plumb lines aren't parallel. Unless
Yes, they are.
Did you hear that? Plumb
But
lines
on a
aren't parallel
what?
on a sphere.
On a what? Oh, on a sphere.
Did he say on his...
Wow.
For example, if I had a spherical magnet,
I don't give a shit what you've got on a sphere. We're talking about plumb lines. Plumb lines run parallel.
no, they don't actually.
He
Yes,
just
they do.
lost
That's
the
what
plot
they
right
are.
there. Plumb
That's what they
lines are
do.
not parallel.
Hold on. What's going on? Yes, they do. That is what a plumb line is.
Look up geodesic surveying.
Sorry, are you now ignoring every word I'm saying and continuing to talk while I pummel your
not at
nonsense
all.
that
I'm
plumb
listening with
lines aren't
bated
parallel? Now it seems you're doing it with your line open as well, so you are definitely ignoring me by talking through me. Is that right, Discord panel? He's just ignoring me by talking through me.
I'm listening.
Doesn't seem that way. I watched the line dance up and down, and when I opened the line, you're still talking, and you've ignored my last point. What was the last point I just made?
Did you asked if they were parallel? If they weren't
No,
parallel,
I stated
you
a
can't
fact.
have
No, that
parallel.
wasn't. No, that's a
You can't have
fact.
par- you
That's
can't
a
have
fact.
non-parallel
Sorry,
plumb lines.
why are you misrepresenting what I've said? That's not what I didn't say. Please misrepresent what I've said. No, that's not what I asked. That's a fact. That's what plumb lines are. Unless you're going to say, no, they run at an angle to each other, they'd eventually meet at a point. No, they wouldn't. That's not what plumb lines are.
Actually, they are.
No, that is absolutely in violation of Euclidean geometry, which very much defines what a plumb line is. It gives you vertical.
On the large scale, you can't use Euclidean geometry on.
Who says that? Sphere Earth believing zealots.
Well, when you measure the plumb lines,
Who says that? Citation, please.
any geodetic surveying manual, I have several.
Sorry, the geodetics we've gone through, they beg the question of a sphere Earth and then draw a tangent plane. So on the edge of the tangent plane, when they've drawn a zenith from a centre point, we'll have exactly the same plumb line on the very edge of the zenith, very edge of the tangent plane, to the original zenith that was drawn at the centre. So even the geodetic surveyors confirm that plumb lines run parallel.
No, they don't.
According to geodetic surveyors, for their mathematics that use Euclidean geometry to actually function, they draw a tangent plane, a flat plane.
There we go. It's in the chat. There's our citation. Talks all about Euclidean geometry not applying to spheres and ellipsoids and geoid differences.
Who cares? When they actually do any surveying, they are using Euclidean geometry. After begging the question and drawing their zenith to a presupposed sphere Earth centre, and then drawing out from that zenith at the centre point a flat tangent plane, as they describe it. In other words, we're going to presuppose this is a tangent point, and from that tangent point on a sphere, we're going to draw a bloody flat surface. And every single Euclidean principle will hold sound on this tangent plane we've drawn after begging the question that we've got a tangent to begin with. So they will have parallel lines. Plumb will still be plumb when they actually operate on their tangent plane. It must do, because they're using Euclidean geometry on the tangent plane they've drawn after begging the question of a sphere Earth to give them this quote-unquote tangent plane, as opposed to just plane, which is what they're actually working with, because they're using Euclidean geometry.
Should I read the citation? Or
Can you acknowledge a single word I've said? They are operating on a tangent plane, which means, other than the fact they've begged the question with the word tangent, the plane they operate on will have plumb lines run plumb. I'd like you to acknowledge this, or I'm going to kick you out.
Euclidean geometry is not used.
So you're not going to acknowledge a smeging word? I'll give you a third attempt. Then it's the dick obfuscation globehead realising he's been absolutely pummeled, so he's going to leave a stony silence while I demand that you address this, or you get kicked out.
You're saying that geodetic surveyors use a plane for their calculations, a tangential plane, and yes, they do. In some.
So they absolutely have plumb lines running plumb then.
Well, I have to say, you want to say.
So would that be a yes, scumbag asshole zealot having his ass handed to him with his belief of a globe? Is that a yes? Yes, plumb lines will run plumb on a presupposed tangent plane. That would be a flat level surface with levels being level and plumbs being plumb. Is that a yes?
Yes,
So it's flat then?
Locally it's flat.
So it's flat then?
Locally it's flat.
So if I move to my left and it's a sphere, plumb lines won't be plumb, Zanuck.
Over 2 miles it's not.
Sorry, if I move to my left 1 inch on a globe with presupposed sphere Earth force of gravity, plumb lines will not be plumb.
Plumb lines are always plumb.
Well, then a moment ago you said that they ran to the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. Now they're plumb.
Well, 1 inch apart, they're parallel to each other. Yeah.
So they're parallel. So we are on a flat surface then.
1 inch apart.
So it's a flat surface then. Parallel lines with plumbs, right angles, flat surface. We're on a plane then. And if you're doing geodetic globe Earth geometry surveying, you're still operating on a flat plane, as admitted by you.
Over 1 inch, yes.
Not over 1 inch, over a tangent plane. Bev, how big's a tangent plane?
Straight lines can extend forever.
On their tangent plane that they use in geodetic surveying. Maybe this isn't your expertise area.
Oh, the disco ball surveyor on Twitter says a quarter of a mile square.
So not an inch then. Quarter of a mile, plumb lines run plumb. If I'm on a sphere, they won't do that. They mustn't run plumb. They can't run plumb. They won't run plumb. And you wouldn't need to assume a quarter of a mile distance has got plumb lines running plumb, because they wouldn't on a sphere. Fact. They have to, and they do, because the surveyors are dealing with a flat plane with Euclidean geometry, and you've got right angles between 2 plumb lines. They don't move to the centre of a presupposed Earth. Even the globe surveyors don't have this effect. They must have it running parallel, otherwise their maths doesn't work out. So ipso facto, even the globe surveyors with their presuppositions of tangent planes still operate with flat plane geometry, and it works because it is flat.
In the chat from the GPS.
Sorry, moving on to GPS now. Not going to acknowledge a smeging word. They do operate on a flat plane, and parallel lines are achieved with plumb lines. They're not moving towards the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. They are holding true to a flat plane, Zanuck.
You say so.
No, that's a fact. A fact that puts buildings on the plane.
Yes, buildings are on a plane. Correct.
Yeah, so the Earth's flat. We are on a plane. That's correct.
Buildings are flat.
He's already admitted it. He's already admitted it.
Can I get a clear understanding? So basically what Zanuck is saying, we live on a disco ball.
No, we live on a flat plane.
No,
Euclidean geometry rules. There's no way around this. If it was a sphere, plumb lines wouldn't be plumb. They are. Even the guys who claim it's a globe and say they survey it as a globe, survey it flat.
Yes.
Thank you, Zanuck. Yes, they do. Thank you for that affirmation. It's flat.
No, that was me. That was me, Nathan, because he did say it was yes when you asked him. He says, yes, they do a tangent plane. So I just validated his yes.
Tangent planes are flat on buildings, yes.
No, we don't have tangent bit. You don't have a tangent anymore. You don't have a geometric horizon, and your straight line tangents are no more. They're being turned into donkey dicks. So we can absolutely disregard the tangent part and mainly focus on the bit that's real, the bit they deal with when they're surveying the flat and level surface of a plane. The tangent bit's been debunked. You don't have a geometric horizon, moron. Your tangent lines are now donkey dicks. So we'll disregard your tangent nonsense, that presupposition they impose, but we'll definitely pay attention to the fact they deal with a plane. Flat Earth, mate.
Welcome, Zanuck.
I have the picture in the citation you requested.
I couldn't give a crap what you've got. You've already conceded that they are dealing with parallel lines in the form of plumbs and flat surfaces where they do any actual work. The fact that you insert the word tangent and a presupposition that you've drawn a zenith from a centre point and then had to draw a flat plane out to actually do any bloody work just proves it's flat. Silence. Welcome to Flat Earth, Zanuck. The Earth is obviously and observably flat. Euclidean principles demonstrate it to be so, and your sphere Earth, globe-believing geometry experts have to assess the Earth as a flat plane because it is.
I agree with you. Plumb is plumb.
Well, then we're all on a flat plane. The Earth is obviously and observably flat, measurably flat. Euclidean geometry proves it.
I provided a very detailed citation and a picture, but no one wanted to look at it, so it's okay.
Citation for what? You've confirmed they're assessing it with level and plumb holding true when they do flat Earth geometry, Euclidean geometry, not sphere Earth geometry. They map out a flat surface and only beg the question when they call it a tangent plane. Well, we've debunked your tangent bit. The only bit that's left in the actual work they do is plane. So we're on a plane. The Earth is flat. What more do we need from you? You think your citation is going to be an argument when you've confirmed our position that the geodetic surveyors are assessing flat planes and using Euclidean principles that prove the area they're assessing is flat, with levels holding true and plumb lines holding true? We're proving flat Earth with you right here, Zanuck.
I told you the plumb lines are parallel locally.
Locally? What? Because you've assumed tangent. We debunked the tangent bit, mate. Other than the bit which you assume that if I move over a quarter of a mile, I'm on a different tangent plane. Well, that assumption has been debunked. You don't have a tangent. You don't have a geometric horizon. We debunked this geometry with the black swan. How are you going to have a tangent plane if you haven't got a tangent? Which you haven't. We've demolished it. So what we left, the actual work they do is done on a plane, with all of the principles of Euclidean geometry holding true over this surface, which is flat, according to them. So even the bloody geodetic surveys admit it's flat.
You have a citation for the geodetic surveyors that say it's flat?
They are assessing what they call, quote, a tangent plane. That would be a flat level surface with plumb lines not moving to the centre of a presupposed Earth and water levels not bending as you fundy dicks here in the trenches tell us that they do. So when your geodetic surveyors use these tools described on this show, they use them with flat earth principles, which they absolutely must and do hold true to when they're assessing the surface that they actually deal with. So they're using Euclidean geometry and its flat earth principles with levels being straight and flat, not curving, plumbs being vertical, not moving to the centre of presupposed earth. That's what they do. So this proves it's flat. Now you're saying because it's only done flat locally, that means that when I move a quarter of a mile, my zenith changes. No, it doesn't. The plumb line between those two edges of those two tangent planes, claimed with a debunked tangent, won't have an angle between the two of them. You can draw a level across both of those two tangent planes and still get a level to work. Because it is level. The fact that you've expanded it out with a presupposition doesn't alter the fact that the pre-part of that statement, that would be tangent, has been debunked. So the presuppositional part of a tangent is dead. All we have left is what they actually do and what they actually use. And what they actually use is water levels that are level and straight and plumbs that are running parallel to each other. That's a fact, even in your own surveyor's ideological use of factual Euclidean geometry. It's proving flat Earth.
Interesting that you even mentioned that the geodetic surveyors use a tangential surface.
We've debunked that presupposition, moron. Didn't you listen to a word I just said?
I listened to every word.
Well, then I've pointed it out. Why would you use it? You don't have a tangent.
You said they use a flat tangential surface.
You don't have a tangent.
But you said they did.
No, they say they're assessing their flat plane. That's the bit they're actually doing with tools that you say don't work the way they work. You say plumbs move to the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. And yet your spherical Earth surveyors assume plumbs run parallel to each other on their, quote, tangent plane. However, the presupposition which gives them the word tangent before the bit they're actually operating within the parameters of, which is a flat plane, that tangent bit is dead. Black Swan killed it. I'll say it again, you've ignored it twice. You don't have a tangent.
Even though they use the word in term tangent surface. Tangent
Yeah, but you
line.
don't have one. That presupposition is dead.
Okay.
They also use the word plane. And the reason they use plane is because levels are level and plumbs are plumb. But what we should address this fundamental presupposition that we've debunked. No, you don't draw tangents to non-geometric positions. You can't. You don't. We don't have no Atmo Day. We've debunked the tangent line. You all claim it's a donkey dick. Are you stupid? Are you just slow to keep up with the arguments? You need to keep up to date with the flat Earth debate. You don't, fourth time, have a tangent.
They call it a tangent, and they.
I don't give a shit what they call it. Their presupposition's dead. Do you think circle jerking me with what they call it over and over again? Yeah, and Newton called it gravity. So what? We've debunked it's not a force. Does that mean that suddenly the words of Newton hold true because he's labelled it such? No, mate. They call it a tangent plane, but we've debunked the tangent bit, leaving only the plane bit. That would be the flat Earth bit. The bit proving that all of these tools demonstrated to prove flatness work only when you're using Euclidean geometry and mapping out a plane to assess, which is what they do assess, with these tools that do hold true and demonstrate flatness in the form of horizontal with a level that's got water in it and vertical with plumb lines. Those are principles that are applied and do hold hold true, unlike your assertion here that plumb lines move to the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. They don't, and not even your own surveyors use that principle, you moron.
They call it a tangent plane. They actually measure.
Oh, so you're just going to keep asserting that because they call it a tangent plane, we've got to pay that umbrage? No.
That's the citation.
Can I ask Zanuck?
We've debunked the tangent. I'm going to give him one last chance to let this little dying rag down, or he's getting kicked out. You don't have a tangent. Now, either you leave a stony silence and ignore it and I kick you out, or you address the fact that you do not have a tangent for a tangent plane. We have debunked it.
Yeah, locally it's just a flat surface.
Sorry, you're not addressing that you don't have a tangent. That would be moving on to locally. It's not a tangent plane. Yeah. You don't have a tangent. Locally is going to address a new tangent plane. So locally isn't working as a defence. I've addressed it by pointing out you don't have a tangent. You're still yet to address it, you little fundy bitch. Yeah, laugh it up. You can fuck off. Get out. He knows he's smashed, so he's just got to circle jerk me. That's all he can do. He knows he's dead.
Well, actually, wait. Before you say anything, 10th man, Zanuck's best phrase is, those laugh at, has he say it? They laugh at what things they don't understand or ridicule. Him laughing, okay, right. So him laughing is mocking. So there you go.
Okay, now I'm glad he's gone, by the way, but he did admit it. Yes, they do. And then he forgot he admitted it. But my question to him, if he was here, but I think we can pretty much answer it, is locally, and use that when you said, if I move an inch, what will happen? So I wonder how locally is measured in his locally, because there is a tool for navigation called a sextant.
Let me just answer your question. They measure it flat. That's what they do locally. Yes. Measure it flat.
Yes, they must, because my next segment is a tool for navigation called a sextant. Works off a right angle, and it's got to have, what distance does a sextant go? As far as the horizon could be seen, and that's at 0. And guess where 90 degrees is? Your zenith. There's your right angle, perpendicular, horizontal and vertical, no curve. Can't work any other way. And that's more than an inch. Ask any navigator.
Yeah, the Earth is obviously and observably flat. That's the bottom line. They don't have to like it. Go on, whoever it was in Discord.
No, I'm just saying, very concise, Nathan. Yeah, I mean, you described it perfectly. I mean, it's missing the words to me, and you put it beautifully. Well done, mate.